Австралигийн Welcome.
Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчдээ. Өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Олон Улсын Си Эмд хэвлэл мэдээллийн судалгааны компани захирал Бэйжинд амьдардаг ноён Лоринс Фидирмэн оролцож байна.
Лоринс Фидирмэн. Лоринс Фидирмэн нь Бэйжинд төвтэй Си Эмд хэвлэл мэдээллийн судалгааны компанид Олон Улсын харилцагч хариуцсан захиралаар ажилладаг. Тэрээр чухал харилцагчдыг хариуцсан ажилдгийнхаа хувьд олон улсын харилцагчдын сэтгэл ханамжийн баталгааг хангах болон Си Эмд-ийг хөгжүүлэх үүрэгтэй. Си Эмд ажилд орохоосоо өмнө Лоринс Фидирмэн Тэлмар группт удирдах албан тушаал хашиж байсан. Тэрээр Тэлмар группт гүйцэтгэх захиралаар ажиллаж байсан. Тэлмар компани Аз номхон далайн хэсэг дэх хөгжлийг хариуцсан ажиллаж байжээ. Ажлынхаа гарааг анх 1993 онд Нью-Йоркийн Тэлмар компанид зар сурталчилгааны сургагчаар эхлүүлж байсан. Лоринс Мандарин хятад хэлийг идэвхтэй суралцаж Монголын хорхоотой юм. Тэрээр 1992 онд Америк нэгдсэн улсын Роуд Айландын Рожер Вильям их сургуулийг бизнесийн удирдлагын чиглэлээр төгссөн. Мөн 2006 онд Харвардын Бизнесийн сургуулийн менежментийн удирдлагын ангийг дүүргэсэн.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
So, what have brought you to Mongolia?
I've come to Mongolia to help Maxima in their developing the TV audience measurement business here in Mongolia.
How do you do that?
How do we do that? It's demonstrating how we do TV audience measurement in China as an example of some of the possibilities that are available here. Mongolia is opening up. There's a lot of new development here. And as the investment increases, advertisers are going to come here, brands are going to come here, and they're going to want to have TV ratings to understand the target market for selling those brands.
Okay, before we come to China, you are so you're representing a company, right? Kantar Media.
Yeah, I'm presenting CSM, which is a joint venture with Kantar Media.
Please tell us about that company so that people have general feeling about what is this about.
Yeah, Kantar Media is a global leader in audience research and different types of research, in particular TV audience research. They do it in the UK and many other markets. And in China, they've partnered with CTR, and CTR and Kantar Media, the joint venture CSM, provides the rating service in China.
Before that, since we are living in a global world, we use global brands. And obviously for global brands, it's important to know who is watching, where to put their advertisements, etc. And I understand how this market is divided almost by two companies, right? Am I right?
Yeah, there's several companies, but it's a small industry, yes.
Yes. And they, one of them is this largest one is Kantar Media.
Correct.
And which is working now in China, which is one of the, the largest market in the world in terms of TV audience. And of course, Mongolia, vice versa, probably one of the smallest market in the sense of population. By the way, we are the most scarcely populated country in the world.
Yeah. Well, with research, it doesn't matter the size. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. And what I see happening in Mongolia is there's so much development that there's a lot of quality development here, and there's going to be more and more need for research.
Research?
For television audience research, correct.
Okay. So research in the sense of how many people watch particular program, right?
Correct.
And that you want to understand more about the market.
Correct.
Of the audience, right? And who is watching what.
Right. So if a show has a higher rating, the TV station can charge more for a commercial during that show.
Yes.
Versus a show that has a lower rating.
Well, speaking about that, as you have seen already, this country has way many TVs. I think per capita we may have the largest amount of TV channels.
Yes.
Why is that so?
Well, I think it's market factors. I think people start a TV station as a business because they want to do a business. And I think over time you'll see that those channels that are successful will continue, and those channels that are not so successful will either merge with others or they will not continue.
How long it will take time, and on which conditions it will depend on?
Well, I think it depends on the Mongolian market and how the market develops. So it's not really for me to say when that will happen, but I think as you have more ratings and you understand TV stations and viewing more, that you'll see more mergers and more development in that direction.
See, rewarding what you said, rephrasing what you said, is researching the audience, researching the capacity of generating cash for any TV will make the TV help to get maybe merged together, etc., and for people to understand more.
Correct.
In that sense, how does that research or rating or ranking system, the system works in Mongolia?
Currently, Maxima is the provider of the TV audience measurement. They're an independent company. And that's important because you want independence, you want transparency, and Maxima provides that. It's
meaning that Maxima has not owned
correct.
TV show, channel, whatever.
Correct, and that's very important.
So not related, not biased.
There's no
business.
bias, correct.
How about China then?
Yeah, in China, the market's a little bit different. I believe partnership with the government is required in certain sectors, but we're under CCTV, but there's a number of layers, and we're quite independent. But to do certain things in China, you have to have government support, and we're in partnership with them, and we enjoy their support.
You know, I was very much surprised. The other day I was in Beijing, and on TV I saw zillions, maybe 30, 40 Chinese channels. I thought they were only CCTV 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, that's it.
Yeah.
But it turned out Sichuan, whatever, everybody has, or maybe towns. How does it work there?
Well, you have national channels like CCTV. You have provincial satellite channels, and then you have also local channels like Beijing TV or Sichuan TV. Yes.
So then how the people or commercial companies or any business will know where they put the audience, the advertisement to which audience?
Correct. So if an advertiser wants to reach a certain target audience, they'll use our ratings to find out which channels are best for them. And we want to encourage that here in Mongolia.
Okay. How is it looking like in Mongolia?
Well, in Mongolia, it's very encouraging. Maxima has been operating for 2 years. They've gotten started. They're moving forward. And now we're at a point where it's getting more support from other players in the industry, getting more TV stations on board to support the service, and then making sure they have the funding to expand their service and continue to benefit the industry as a whole. Because what we're trying to do by TV ratings is making the pie bigger for everybody. So yes, the ratings are used for TV stations to compete with each other, but it's also a way to generate more money for the industry as a whole. And if the TV industry benefits, then the Mongolian economy benefits as a whole.
Yep, correct. You said other players in the industry. Who are those players?
Well, it's all the TV stations you just mentioned. Because in most countries, the TV stations provide the majority of the funding for TV ratings because they directly benefit from it, using TV ratings as a sales tool. So the funding generally comes from them. And then the advertising agencies, on behalf of the advertisers, will also invest because they're using the ratings to determine the best target audience for brands.
So basically, in Mongolia, some TVs, not every TV broadcasting.
Yeah.
So what the principal difference of those TVs, which is a sort of just studio? That's why we have so many TVs, by the way, and a few broadcasting. And you more or less meeting people on the law that Mongolia is preparing on broadcasting. Please tell us about your observations on that.
Yeah, well, the Mongolian law, it's in most countries, you need government support. Government provides a frame for which business can operate. So we're being very careful. We're not saying that we're asking the government to mandate what anybody should do in any industry. It's helping to provide a framework and working with Maxima, working with the industry to develop TV rating business in a way that benefits everybody. Welcome.
You know, how much we bring order or normal rule of play in this industry will depend a lot in this country, newspaper, other media, and ethics and advertisement, not only commercial but political. In that sense, how do you, where you find Mongolia is to go? I mean, at which level we are now?
I think, as I mentioned before, you've started, there is a rating service. I think more needs to be done to get people on board, get other TV stations on board, and educate people on the benefit of ratings and on the benefit of having this service. Because essentially, this is ratings are used in all countries, so it's something that will come to Mongolia, and I think the industry now has a chance to guide their own future, and that's what I'm here to help encourage.
See, you said that the way how to understand the market. What is the method? What kind of survey, what kind of tools you use, or in case of Maxima use, in rating Mongolian TVs?
Yeah, Maxima uses the same technology that we use in China. It's the people meter system from Kantar Media. Kantar Media has been doing the meter business for many, many years. They have the actual physical hardware that's used in the sample's home to measure what they're watching. And it's tested in many markets, and they've been doing it a long time. So Maxima gets that technology from Kantar Media, along with advice and counsel. And
I understand this Maxima rating company having installed this, what they use in several families. Do you know what is the sample of the survey?
Yeah, currently the sample size is 100, and it's in UB only. But we're hoping that with the support of more television stations, we can increase the sample, or Maxima can increase the sample and increase the accuracy, because the higher the sample, the more accurate the results.
If there is any certain ratio for per population or per 1,000 people, etc., there's any optimal ratio?
Well, I think it's up to the market factors as to how much ad revenue is being spent in the market that justifies installing more meters, because it is an expensive business to do it. You're collecting every day throughout the year, and you're analyzing it and delivering it to clients every single day. So it is an expensive business. But I think 100 is a good start. I think a few hundred more would be good to get even more accurate data here in the.
We talk about households, 100 households.
We're talking about households, yes.
And in every household, I understand, for that accuracy or better accuracy of the survey, say a father has own channels, mother, children, etc. How to make a difference? I mean, who is using what?
Yep. The meter box is connected to the televisions, and if there's more than one television, it'll be connected to more than one television.
In that household.
In that household. Yeah. And then each individual will have an ID code. So if dad's sitting and watching TV, he'll punch in his code in a remote control, and we'll know that, okay, now dad's starting to watch now. Mom comes in, and now she sits down, she's going to punch in her code, so now we know mom's watching as well. And before that, we conduct an establishment survey to understand who they are, what's their age, what's their gender, how many children in their household, and things like that. So we know who the individual person is.
Wow, that should be a quite expensive survey.
It's a very expensive service, but
plus they are paid probably for that somehow.
Yeah, there's, we position as an incentive for their time, because they are spending their time to assist us, but there is no pay for watching.
I see.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and when you look at the cost and you look at how much money is being spent on advertising, it is justified.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there is any international sort of ratio in finance, there is a ratios, right? Optimal ratios, etc. If you change it, you to watch. in that business we talk about, if there is any ratio that how much per channel or per product to minimum to be sort of advertisement by minutes or by frequency,
right?
If there's any sort of standard in the industry?
It varies by market, so it's really hard to say, to be honest. Yeah.
So it depends for market.
It depends on the market. It depends on how many TV stations there are. How much is being spent on advertising. There's many factors that come into it. The population as a whole. So there's a lot of factors that come into it. So it's hard to give a clear number on that.
Okay, Lawrence. Then let's talk about the media, TV, like newspaper, which is a traditional sort of channel of media, which sort of been competing or either being replaced partially by social media.
Yep.
Now people watch. Mostly they get news on phone more, and then sometimes we watch TV on phone.
Yep.
Please describe about that shifting the situation of two segments of markets.
Yeah, well, we call that multi-screen viewing. So somebody could be in their living room watching TV and also being active on social media or some other activity on their mobile device or on their tablet. So we're seeing that globally. But what we're also seeing is that having that base of the TV audience measurement is the critical first step. And that's what we're working on establishing here in Mongolia, is getting that currency solidified, getting the whole industry on board, getting the government to have a framework around it to help support it, because government support is important. And then after that, look at social media and multi-screen viewing, because you're absolutely right. There's a shift to consuming content on mobile devices, and you very much need to measure that. But television is still the key medium.
And how long it will be?
How long it will be? Yeah, they've been predicting the death of television for a long time, as long as I've been in this business, and it's still there. It's not growing like it used to, but people are always going to want to be in their living room watching TV and enjoying television, I think.
Yeah, because the screen bigger, more relaxed, not just watching from your eyes.
Absolutely. So it doesn't, it's not about replacing. It's about how do you make the pie bigger. How do traditional media owners, television networks, use social media, use online as a way to benefit their business? So, the way I look at it is, rather than it being a threat, rather than looking at the internet as a threat, is an opportunity. Yeah,
the same all around globally.
Yeah.
In the Mongolia, it should be the same.
Exactly.
In that sense, will all this choice of people of which screen to watch, how much it will be dependent on the content, whether it is to be serials or concerts or news.
Content is king. Just like your show, if you have good content, people are going to watch, and whether it's on television or on a mobile device, they're going to want to get to you.
Mine is on both.
Yes, absolutely.
It's in a free application also you can download. And I thought this content, important thing is content, to give the choice for people to see in whatever they want to see. Tools, right?
Yes.
In that sense, you see the technology is sort of merging. What to expect, say, in a country like Mongolia for businesses, where to give their commercials now, and on which criteria they are to select?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. And the only way to determine that is to have independent research measuring television viewing, measuring viewing on mobile devices, so that advertisers can decide which is best for their brand.
Do you have any figure of the size of market in the country of advertisement?
In Mongolia?
Yes.
I don't have any figures with me, but I could find that out.
Sort of either 4 to billion, about $3 million or so a month.
Right.
Sort of advertisements are going on Mongolian TVs. The Maxima, they have two things. One is they, as we talked now, they have this survey with this certain samples which can be increased and will be increased, the sample. But on the other side, I understand they screen every single program of every TV 24 hours. As a result, they may say how many advertisement was given per hour on that day, or on which content, or which company. Is it the same in all around the world?
Yes, that's ad monitoring. That's monitoring that ads were actually aired. So an advertiser will want to know, you know, they've invested in a television station to air their commercial, and it's monitoring that what was actually delivered, what was promised.
Well, it should have then a great large database collecting capacity.
Very big, very big.
And it's a lot of investment.
It's a lot of investment. Yeah, but again, if the industry, the amount of investment in advertising is there, it justifies it. And in this case, in Mongolia, it does. But we're still developing and growing along with the economy.
Well, Lawrence, you have been working in different continents: Amsterdam, Hong Kong, now China, in the U.S., in North America, in New York. Tell us about this, why that advertisement is so important in business.
Because billions of dollars are spent on trying to reach somebody who has the opportunity to consume or to buy your product. And it's a huge industry, it's a growing industry, and along with all the new media, it's just going to get even bigger.
Yeah, and it will be always growing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there'll be more competition. We'll see television networks increasing their content, improving their content in order to draw in viewers. So it's a benefit to the viewer because it forces a TV station to have better content so people can enjoy television more.
And it will require, because of harsh competition, more creativity.
Yes, yes.
Which companies or which nations can you specify that you will find the most creative?
There's great content everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and a lot of the best content comes from locally grown content. And you know what I really hope for Mongolia is that as more people subscribe to ratings, as young people see that developing content, there's a benefit to do it. You can measure it. You can get results from it. You could succeed in creating content. You'll see more locally grown content here in Mongolia, creating jobs and adding to society.
Very interesting statement. You said locally growing. Indeed, the local people know the content, the circumstance better than foreign people, right?
Yeah.
And this is a very prestigious, creative, highly paid job, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you can do it on a budget. There's two ways to go. I mean, of course, there's big TV stations with big budget programs and special effects, but sometimes local programs on a low budget, you know, have that homegrown feel, and people really connect to that, I think.
And it's a young person who follow this idea you and me are talking now. What you would advise as an individual professional who used to work for many years in this industry?
Advise on content?
What to do for the young man who wants to be in this industry, what they should know, what is the main driver of their businesses.
Well, I think for young people getting in this industry is challenge the boundaries and dare to dream, dare to do something different, and dare to do something locally. And I think, I know that foreign content is very popular in Mongolia, and I think that's great. But I think there's an opportunity to expand that and include local content, and I would encourage young people to go for it and do that.
And plus, it's important probably for preservation of local content,
local culture and
traditions.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's wonderful. And with ratings there, and having an industry that's transparent and there's measurement, I think that'll attract more people who want to get into that business. Welcome.
See, we are sometimes in such a situation. Now large companies come, say menswear, women's wear, or good watch, and they are still bringing a person, say, still a foreigner,
right,
the advertisement. And then locals, sometimes in particular when the wear clothes comes, it look different, you see.
Right.
They would rather probably expect a Mongolian or a local, national to be in that. How do you see that?
Well, I think Mongolia is an open market, and I think people should have the ability to consume whatever products they want. My response to that would be also local designers and local people can start developing their own products and services to meet the demand of the market. So I don't think it's an either or. I think you can have both.
Probably this case in China should be different. Way bigger, larger market, and
it's the scale. The scale of China is never ceases to amaze me.
Compared with Northern America, what the difference between China as a market and North America as a market?
Oh, there's many differences, but in a way, I like to look at the similarities. You know, I think people want a better life for themselves. They want a better life for their children. I think people want independent measurement of TV audiences, and they want to promote their products and their brands. What's interesting in China is we're seeing some local brands that are now exporting, and more development of local brands, I think, is a positive development.
Speaking about the different age group of audience, if there is any, probably depends on channel, but if there is any optimal ratio of having certain education program on TV, maybe for a particular time, etc., can you tell us about that?
Again, it depends by market. I think educational programs are great, you know, to
should it be a separate channel, or it's always better to have, for example, CNN, some news.
Right.
BBC also news.
Right.
Bloomberg Business.
Yeah.
But they are in between them, there are programs for children. It must be a program for children, no?
Yes. Yeah, there should be programs for children at you know, that are appropriate at appropriate times, yes. Whether or not there's an independent channel all depends on if there's a big enough audience to support it.
Okay. Let's go back to China. Do they have a particular policy on that, on the national state-owned? All TVs are nationally state-owned, right, in China?
Correct.
And then do they have this particular policy, you think?
On what?
Education, how many hours to be per night program?
I think they do have some controls on you know, how much programming there can be for education, but I'm not specifically sure of how many hours, but you know, I think there is some control.
You know, when I was living for short in England, I saw programs. There are BBC, 3, 4, 5 different channels, but some of them are giving a good educational cartoons or programs explaining in a very simple way gardening, you know, forestry. And what was interesting is all around the country, the children expect to watch those cartoons so that a child in London and a child in a remote area are on the same page.
Right.
Would you agree? I think it is a good supplementary program to
Absolutely, absolutely. And to my knowledge, there are educational programs in mainland China that do that exact same thing.
Well, that's sort of a part of policy, isn't it? And the last question about the advertisement limit. What is the rational or optimal ratio of advertisement in the program?
You know, it depends market by market. It depends on the government of that particular economy.
U.S., China, tell us.
Yeah, I don't know how many actual minutes the limit is, but you want to limit advertising. You don't want too many ads on a program because then that degrades the program and people aren't going to watch. So I think there's market factors that come into play, because if there's too many ads, people are just going to turn to another channel.
At a certain point, there would be diminishing effect. Right?
Exactly, exactly.
So hopefully your visit, and we haven't talked about the broadcasting part. Where do you see the challenge in this country in terms of broadcasting law?
You know, the challenge is for the industry to come together as a whole and work together and in a way that's going to benefit everybody. But that's the same thing you find in most economies. And I think if everybody can come together and work in a way that can benefit the economy as a whole, I think you'll see progress. As long as people are strictly looking out for their own interests, that fragmentation will hinder forward movement.
So for Mongolia, it's important to have the consolidation of these players in their own common interests together.
Well, it's not so much consolidation of TV networks. It's just all the networks getting together as a whole to support things like TV audience measurement and to support the economy as the development of the industry as a whole.
Well, hope that's going to be the case in Mongolia, and thank you for sharing your experience with us, and good luck to you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.